Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jayson Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of Tight Pants Society.
No fucking play is that a gimme, right?
We are going nowhere for the next hour of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jayson Anik. Boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to get to. One would argue a supersized edition. If you've ever heard the phrase, 5 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag, that is us today, Jayson Anik. We have so much to do inside the next hour. The NFL is rolling. College football is rolling. The roller coaster ride of the baseball season is going. And, we have UFC 320 to get to as well. There was fight news this week. My God, where do we begin?
I know Cody always wants us to stay on the screws and to get right into the issues, but every time I see you, and my brother John Anik always says he never knows how he's going to open the show, but every time I see you, something different pops into my head. And so maybe this is more of a tease, but what popped into my head is I want to talk to my friend Gresh about how much he cares about tonight's game. I know we joke about the roller coaster stuff, but if I was sitting with you, I'd be like, bro, like, are you into it? Are you into it? You know, so maybe we'll get there. Maybe that's a tease, but that was what was in my brain just now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get like whooped up and excited for tonight. I really am. Like, I just hate to stay. And I know we are going to get to Red Sox, Yankees, and baseball a little bit later on. Let's put it this way. It's not like an AFC championship game. I can tell you that. I've been through a lot of those. I think I was a part of broadcasting like 9 of them or something like that along the way, or 8 or something to that effect. And that definitely always got me excited. I am curious, Jay, just in all seriousness, 10 years ago, you would have had extra security and police at a game because of the angst between the two fan bases. Now, I don't know if anybody is getting their ass beat in the stands for wearing the wrong jersey, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I went to the old Yankee Stadium one time. I was ushered out one time. More
there
due
we
to
go.
The actions of my friends. And forgive us. We appreciate y'all being with us every day, every Tuesday on Gas. Yes, we're talking about Red Sox, Yankees. We're going to get into it a ton later, but that was what was on my brain if I failed to clarify.
No, it will be interesting to see sort of the level of disdain between fan bases now that the Red Sox have a couple of championships. And look, even in New York, right? Like I do a ton of work out of New York. Even talking to those people that live there, they're kind of where we are with the Red Sox. It's like, yeah, they're there, but they might win the thing. They might not. It's not like the arrogance of a decade ago where it was, of course, if we get there, we're going to win.
So
they're
interesting.
They're now more kind of hedging it as well. And I don't think, you wanted to like push. I don't think anymore a Yankee fan wants to like push a Red Sox fan off a bridge and vice versa.
I think that's a really good point. I wonder, had the Yankees won the division, if they would, and had the bye, if maybe they'd have a little more juice. I think sometimes playing these games can help give you some juice. But we're going to get to the baseball. So one thing I'm just itching on that I have to talk to you about. You have a football itch you're about to scratch, are you not? Well, and you and I agree a lot, and you played football collegiately, so I just have to sort of pick your brain on a couple of head coaches in the NFL, and maybe it wouldn't have had too much to do with the outcome, but I just want to start quickly with like Dave Canales, Panthers head coach. And I know we're going to talk about the Patriots game, but this is specific to Dave Canales. So the Panthers are up 6-0, and they have the ball around midfield, and they have a 3rd and 10. And he calls a very conservative rush play, and then they punt, and Marcus Jones returns a punt for a touchdown for New England, and they score 42 straight. But if I'm a Panthers fan, after winning last week against Atlanta 30-0, I know that game was kind of funky. It wasn't as this huge rout. I think they had a defensive touchdown. But it would absolutely kill me that I'm up 6-0 on the road at New England. I'm an underdog here, and on 3rd and 10, I'm just going to have a little run and then punt it, and then it flips. And I think even just a moment like that, You don't run on 3rd and 10,
Right.
in my opinion, if you're the Carolina Panthers. So quickly, any thoughts on that? Because from a Panthers fan standpoint, I was frosted.
So I was in the house at Gillette on Sunday, and I can tell you that the Carolina offensive line, what they rolled out there, like they got through the first series. It was like week 1 for New England. They got through the first series and did well, and you're thinking, okay, maybe there's something here. And then all of the cracks in the foundation started to allow water in. And that's really, to me, what happened with Carolina. Jay, they were limited by their offensive line. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend Dave Canales. I think he is, I've used the line, Jay, dopey owner syndrome. Well, this guy, David Tepper, bought the Panthers in 2018. And what did he do? Everybody says you can't win with a college coach. He goes and hires a college coach in Matt Rule. It doesn't go well. He brings in Frank Reich. Then they end up with the number 1 pick. And it's, no, I'm going to get rid of Frank Reich, and then I'm going to hire some tight pants, only one side of the ball coaching guy who's hot off of 1 year because of Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to bring him in to be my head coach when he's not ready for it. And then I'm going to tell him who he's drafting number 1 overall, which is the way it's gone down in Carolina. That's not me necessarily defending a bad coach, because I think Canales, good play caller, not a head coach.
I agree.
These guys, Jay, they go from coaching 22 to coaching 53, right? Like, if there's one thing my guy Liam Cohen knew, was that I got to put my imprint on the football team, not just the offense that I control, but the football team. And I think they have like the 3rd most turnovers on defense in the NFL so far, because they're playing a very aggressive style.
Great point.
So when you go dopey owner syndrome and bad coach with a guy in Bryce Young, who, Jay, once I saw him, he's kind of meh.
Yeah, I agree.
He may not be, and I'm not making fun of you, but like, I am 6'5" and gigantic. You are not. Bryce Young feels like your size out there.
Yes, I hear you.
Trying to play quarterback. You know what I mean? I don't mean that in a negative way towards you.
So I think head coaching is just paramount in the NFL. And another guy who is a head coach in Pete Carroll. I have to talk about Pete Carroll, right? If I'm a Raiders fan, I'm like seething right now. When I moved to LA in 2002, I think it was right around then, and Pete Carroll had been the Patriots head coach, nothing really exciting. And we had sort of moved, the Patriots had moved on from Pete Carroll. USC, he won a couple titles. He was anointed. So I get out to Southern California. Everyone's talking about how great Pete Carroll is, right? We could talk all day about Super Bowl 49, the decision not to hand the ball off to beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. But I want to talk about the game on Sunday against the Bears, which is a 1-point game. But the conservative head coaching, and the Canales example might be sort of a small micro example, right? It's one play. But the way these new kickoffs have sort of changed these end of game situations, we could do a whole show on that. But I just have to walk you through Pete Carroll at the end of this game, because Max Crosby and company is 1-3 now, and they should be 2-2, right? So, and this is not green goggles. I had no action on the game. So just the clock management and being just super conservative, right? The Bears score a touchdown to go up. And I was thinking at that point, the Raiders need to let him score here. They need to let him score here, because a touchdown put them up 1. They didn't get the 2-point conversion, but even had they, that was the only chance for the Raiders, because they clearly didn't seem to be able to stop Chicago at that stage of the game. So anyway, the Bears kick off. The Raiders get the ball back down 1, minute 34 in the 4th, right? So 1st and 10 on the Las Vegas 42, on their own 42. Geno Smith, short pass 7 yards to the 49. 2nd and 3, short pass again to Bowers, 8 yards up to the 43, right? Then they pass to Tucker, pushed out of bounds at the Chicago 39 for 4 yards, 52 seconds left. 2nd and 6, Ashton Genty run. 3rd and 2, Ashton Genty run for -1 yards. Then they have a 54-yard field goal that's blocked, but it's with 38 seconds. So even if it goes in with these new kickoff rules, you were giving the Raiders another chance. Just couldn't have been managed more poorly. Tom Brady, somewhere in a booth somewhere, who was part owner of this team a long time ago, these head coaches and this league became an aggressive league where you got to go for the win and kneel it or whatever it is. And I just thought it was super conservative by a guy who's been there, done that. And if I'm a player on the Raiders, I'm frosted.
Well, you know what's interesting is, Jay, your 2 examples are connected to 2 teams who don't have And I'm not talking about just a quarterback. They don't have any dudes on offense.
No, see, I knew you're going to immediately shut down my point. No, they easily moved the ball. Bowers, Tucker, they did whatever they wanted until they got hyper-conservative. It's one thing to get hyper-conservative if you're leaving 10 seconds on the clock. No, mismanagement all day. You can talk to me about personnel all you want. I wonder how much you heard of what I just said about the coaching.
No, I'm not shutting
Bush League, bro.
I'm not shutting down your coaching point. My point is you get conservative when you don't have like Josh Allen who can open up, rip open the chest, or Lamar Jackson.
I like this guy Geno Smith enough to bring him with him.
Yeah, he did. He did because they had no. Well, really, he did because they realized that Shedeur Sanders was a fraud. I mean, remember Brady was one of the biggest ones who was out there talking about Shedeur, and then it was, let me go get this guy. Yeah, you could argue there are coaches in the NFL every week who play to lose in thinking while they're playing to win. And to me, if Pete Carroll had more confidence in the quarterback that he brought with him, you know what that was? And we don't talk about this side of it enough. Maybe the coach knew, right? Like maybe that's one where Pete goes, I can't put it in Geno's hands because of X, Y, or Z. And you and I look at it on the outside and say, you're moving the ball. Geno's not that bad. Then it gets to what is the coach really afraid of? And to me, that turned into they were more afraid of what the quarterback could do than what the running back might not get. And Jay, one other thing to your point, you hit on kickers. I think now coaches are more comfortable than ever allowing guys to try from 50. And I think that's a part of it. But that's a part of the coach. Yes, absolutely.
That's a factor. But your points about Geno Smith, they threw 4 straight times before they got hyper-conservative. So, yes, right. I get your points about the dudes. But anyway, let's move on to the topics. And you got something you're chomping on. What are you chomping on?
For me, it's just as soon as I buy into Baltimore, the old Ravens show up. After a month of the season, they're 1-3. Now, I know a lot of people who are watching or listening might say, yeah, but look who they lost to. Yeah, but look what we think they are. If we think they're a Super Bowl championship caliber team in Baltimore, they lost to Buffalo, they lost to Kansas City, and they lost to Detroit. Those are all 3 Super Bowl contenders, and you're 0-3 against those guys, whether it's by hook or by crook or by injury or whatever. Losing week 1, I think really is going to have a dramatic effect on the rest of the season for the Ravens. And now they lose the D tackle, Madam Bouquet. And I thought Baltimore was going to win the Super Bowl. Now they're going to be fortunate if they win their division. And Pittsburgh isn't playing great, but they're at least winning enough to kind of scare Baltimore a little bit. Nobody else in that division is going to. Now maybe Baltimore goes on a hot streak and wins 9 in a row and they get their mojo back. But when you look at their schedule, Houston at home, Rams, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland. So, that Rams game will be tough. I think they can handle Houston, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland. Then, of course, they get more division games on the back end. They get to play the Jets, which everybody will beat this year. Bengals, Pittsburgh, Bengals, and then the Pats. And then, Jay, did you watch the Bengals at all last night?
The Ravens. Let me get in on the Ravens before.
Oh, please do. On. Yeah. I was gonna.
Let me get in here. I couldn't agree with you more. And Pittsburgh, who found a way to maybe win some games they shouldn't, sits at 3-1 versus 1-3. We don't know about Lamar Jackson's health. Your points about week 1 couldn't be taken better on my ears. And what I will say, because I lost a lot of money on the Ravens last week, I shouldn't say a lot, but I was on the Ravens. I should have noticed in week 3 when they lost to Detroit, I saw some things from Lamar Jackson on the sidelines that I hadn't seen in the past. He was always ice cold and so cool. Exactly. Yeah. So I saw some of that, which maybe should have given me pause into week 4. You can move on to the Bengals, but I think there's some real good stuff on the Ravens. And I really would not be loving being a Ravens fan right now. You talk about the Bills and the Ravens. Which team is going to get over the hump? Ravens look like they're going to right now, but I'm with you. I was bullish on them preseason.
Great pickup on Lamar's body language. Great pickup, because you're right. Normally, if anything, it's more just, staring off into space. But when he's sitting there with his head down, he looked a little pouty. Well, I get that was frustration, but it felt like it was, when you're the quarterback, you have to be very aware of your body language. Remember 2018 Tom Brady? Most miserable 8-0 man on earth, right? He'd do interviews. They'd be like, Tom, you're 8-0. And he would essentially be like, yeah, but I don't know. Or 2019, I should say. They're 8-0. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling real good about this. And I wonder if that's maybe where, sadly, Baltimore is on a year that I move in on them. But that's a great pull on Lamar kind of sitting there with the old pouty body language. We will get back into the NFL because there is a lot to say, I think, about Drake May this week and the way the Patriots offense is kind of rounding into shape. I know I threw the old NFL game book in the show sheet today because I'm sure everybody's going to want to talk about those running back splits. But we have to start with the playoffs. And as I sent in our text string, it's 2 times the speed on the roller coaster tonight, baby. Now you get to throw in a hang in there as well, as it's Red Sox-Yankees in a wild card series. I love the look on your face because you know what? You rode the roller coaster this year without puking. I give you a lot of credit.
I wish I was physically in your presence because it's like I want to be able to like grab you right now and be like, hey, man, I feel like really deep in your soul you are excited about tonight. And that's why I couldn't help leading off the show, because I'm not going to suggest that you kill my buzz, but I've talked about a lot because you are a national sports journalist and have been for a long time. There's a little bit.
No, but I'm a buzz killer. I admit. I'm too truthful about it. I even get it at home. Oh, you're taking the fan out of it.
But I respect the realistic approach a lot. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a Debbie Downer because when Roman Anthony went down, and we could read you some numbers where the Red Sox are with and without Roman Anthony. But when he went down, I felt like I didn't look at them as a contender in quite the same way. Mm-hmm. But what I'll say is 3 games at New York, a wild card series. Last time the Red Sox were in the postseason, they beat the Yankees in a 1-game wild card playoff, Gresh, right? So they are plus 135 in the series. Yankees minus 165. Garrett Crochet toes the slab tonight against Max Fried. I couldn't be more excited. I'm going to be driving on the way to the airport. It's hard for me to speak to you objectively, Gresh, but I think the Red Sox are somewhat live, certainly tonight. What are your thoughts?
They're live. They're live for the series if Crochet spins a gem. I'll give you that. If Crochet goes out and gives you 7 innings of 1-run ball and they turn around and win 3-1, then yeah, the pucker factor becomes very real for New York because their pitching staff. Now, they do have a guy that can match up against Crochet, right? So that is, you're going to throw Fried out there, but they do have the ability to match with an ace. But really a lot of the Red Sox chances, Jay, I really think lie in the arm of Garrett Crochet tonight. Yep. If he goes out and throws great, he has a great start, they find a way to steal this game 1, then you're just looking at it and saying, well, hell, we just got to find a way to win 1 of 2, boys. We've done that before. And you have the manager who can program that in the right way. So for as much as I've jacked around on this show at the expense of the Red Sox, they're arguably a great start and a couple of runs away from really having the Yankees backed into a corner. And the amount of rectus constrictus on the Yankees end, considering they're at home and they work all this year, they get to the playoffs, and then you are at home and you lose a series to a team that people don't think are as good as you. Here's what worries me about the Yankees, Jay. In the postseason, teams that hit home runs win a lot of games. And that's the way the New York Yankees are built. Like, a lot of it is on Crochet tonight, but he can't slip up and give up a bomb. That's the great neutralizer. That's how the Yankees have advanced through the playoffs in recent years. They just got a bunch of, in the words of Earl Weaver, they got a bunch of big bleepers who can drive the ball out of the ballpark. And that really is the worry. You give me one of those, excuse me, I sharted and hit a home run to right field. You get one of those for Garrett Crochet. That's the worst thing that could absolutely happen to them, that right field porch. But Jay, no, they're live in this series tonight if Crochet balls out.
So Max Fried, in better form of late, had a little bit of a clunky August, but his last 2 starts, 20 Ks, 14 innings, 1 run. So I think he's going to be tough to beat tonight. I certainly am expecting a low scoring game. I'm so excited for this. And what I want to just talk to you a little bit about and have a little fun is you very well know that this puts me in a perfect position to gamble on this series, right? Because you know that the result of this series is either going to be I win a lot of money or the Red Sox win the series, right?
We're back to the Knicks Celtics theory.
Yes, exactly. For those of you that have been,
for those who've been watching the show, and you should be every week, you bastards.
Exactly. So, Gresh, what I'll tell you is that if you said to me right now, all right, Jay, I can assure you the Red Sox will win this series. You just got to give me $3,000, right? What is it? What you get it in terms of their like?
No,
what is it worth to me? Right? I'm about to go to Vegas. Right? This is going to end in Vegas. Right? Megan O'Leary's a New York Yankees fan. I'm going to see her this weekend back after having a baby. She's gonna be wearing a Yankee hat. Right? I'd like the Red Sox to have won this series. Right? I joke about that, but. Right. You feel me? Like I want this really bad. So I'm going to invest in the Yankees so that I get paid either way. Gosh, man, I'm excited for this. I really, if I'm being objective, I really think the Red Sox got a great shot. Cody, what do you think, man? Cody's a Red Sox fan in the back there. What do you think, bro?
Oh, we're sweeping.
2-game sweep. 4 starts against the Yankees this season. Crochet 3-0, 3.29 ERA, 39 Ks. Gresh, this season, certainly some pressure on the Yankees. Red Sox come in here and lose. Not spending money, right? It's sort of been a roller coaster, like you said, but a lot of prayer. Red Sox have some fresh championships. The Yankees do not.
Well, this is going to come down to starting pitching and home runs, not the past of what Manny Ramirez did 20 years ago. No,
I'm talking about 2018. I'm talking about the Yankees haven't not won one for 16 years. They're home against their rival who's owned them. I'm not talking about Manny. I'm talking about 2018. Alex Cora.
Yeah, for me, I think the great equalizer is the home run ball in this series, and that's what worries me on the Red Sox end. Crochet 323 strikeouts on fastball since the start of last season, which is the most in MLB in that span. Aaron Judge is hitting 390 against fastball since the start of last season, the highest in the majors, and that's a minimum of 200 plate appearances. I'm worried about the home run ball because it's the great equalizer, and I don't think the Red Sox have enough bats with enough thunder in the lineup right now. They're going to have to be a little more, dare I say, National League way of trying to score. We get a walk, maybe we get a stolen base, then a ball to the right side, and then a sac fly ends up bringing them in if the leadoff runner gets on. I think the Red Sox are going to have to do a lot of stuff like that. I'll tell you this, though, Jay. Let me give you a little hope here. The biggest advantage, in my opinion, in the series for either side, we have a clear advantage in manager. Aaron Boone will make the big mistake. Alex Cora, to me, does not. And when you start to get margins that are razor thin, we're talking about like a home run. We're talking about getting the final out of an inning if you're Crochet to get out of an inning versus turning it over to a bullpen. If our margins are going to be razor thin, where can the biggest mistakes be made? That would be at manager. Like, Jay, you started today. Well, like the football point was there's bad coaching going on. Boone will do that every once in a while. I think having Cora is a massive advantage in this series. Massive.
So before we move on to football, are you going to be sitting down watching this? And if the Red Sox do good things, will there be any audible from you? Like anything out of your mouth? Just watching.
It'll be on in the it'll be on in the background. So it's a little bit like Monday Night Football last night. My oldest, who has not made his sojourn to Florida for his winter job yet, him and some of his friends came over and they were hanging in the garage. I hung a TV in there where it's where like my wife's warehouse is for her business. So since we end up spending a lot of time in there, the boys were all in there and I went to go visit them. And when I went out there, they were asking me all kinds of questions about the whole Monday night game and stuff like that. And I asked one of them, I said, y'all watching the baseball tomorrow? And sadly, only one of them, there were 5 of them, only one raised his hand and was like, oh yeah, I'm into it. So in this house, in part because of my oldest, it'll be on a couple of different TVs. I will be aware of what is going on. We always have the strategy of putting it on one of the TVs with the DVR so that it's easy to rewind. Like last night when Tyreek Hill got hurt, we had the TV in the main room on that. So we watched it just to see how bad that injury was. So I will be paying attention. But would I be running around like the Anik boys celebrating a game 1 win with a good wager? No, I would not.
And I'll be putting myself in danger trying to watch the game driving to the airport. Like that's how into it. Red Sox Yankees moves the needle for me. It almost, you know how much I love the NFL. Red Sox Yankees in terms of, I mean, it puts, John sending me videos of like David Ortiz today. I'm all about it, Gresh. I'm excited.
Oh, it's interesting. So you guys are going to have the goosebumps in the beginning and then be devastated on Thursday when Megan walks into production meetings with her Yankee gear on.
Right. But what I'll say is I'm glad you brought up the word devastated, because that's what's great about being an old man at 47. And that's what's great about the Red Sox championships in 4, 7, 13, and 18 is I won't be devastated. I will be really, really ecstatic if they win, probably a 10 out of 10. But in terms of if they lose, it might be like a 4. You feel me? Like it is what it is if they lose.
Yeah. You know what? I think, and I mentioned the fan hatred as well. That was a big part of the, there isn't the jaw jacking there was 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
100%.
So I think to your point, for some people it is, they don't take it as seriously. Jay, when I did sports talk before 04, when they won it, my line was always, I want to own a cemetery because of the amount of people that will die if the Red Sox, So I was working in Providence. Listen to this. So they win the World Series, right? Everybody is going nuts. We can't believe they won. I was working in little old Providence then. I stayed on all night, Jay. No kidding. I got bumped off at like 5 a.m. when the morning crew came in and they were like, yeah, we should let you. But literally from 11 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning, I have the tape somewhere. I mean, old men weeping, old women calling and saying, I can die now. We don't have that feeling anymore. Now it's, how come we haven't had a championship in 5 years? It's really shifted mentally from when you and I would have been in a stadium full of people that would have been throwing stuff. They were so aggravated at what was going on.
It's so true. And I know we'll move on to football, but I do think as great as the Yankees have been over the last 15 years, the fact that they have nothing to show for it since 2009, to me as a Red Sox fan, like in 2021, I didn't think the Red Sox were going to win the whole thing, but they eliminated the Yankees. Eddie Andelman was having a Yankees elimination party somewhere. So I guess the opportunity to eliminate the Yankees and simultaneously advance yourself in the postseason, just very exciting.
It's as juicy as it gets. Now, let me ask you this, and I am throwing you on the spot here. There's the Yankees. There's the Knicks, you could argue. There's the Lakers. I don't know if the Patriots really have anyone on the other side that I would really throw onto this list. But right now, Boston's greatest rival is who? Because normally Red Sox Yankees, we just say, oh, of course it's the Yankees and that's it. But, there's been some rivalries that have popped up in the Tatum run here. The Pats are down a little bit. The Bruins aren't even a factor.
I hate that I have to answer the New York Knicks because I don't believe them to be as relevant as that answer is. But they eliminated the defending champion Boston Celtics from the postseason last year. They made it to the Final Four. The Knicks did. I don't expect them to make it back. But yeah, I guess that rivalry just has not existed much, Gresh, right? When the Knicks were good in the early 90s, Celtics were irrelevant.
Right.
Lakers Celtics always has a little juice because they sort of got back together again in the 2008, 9, 10 era. But either way, for me, it's Yankees, Red Sox every day of the week. Let's go.
Well, and for those, hopefully this will kind of indoctrinate new fans to what this rivalry really kind of used to be and what it meant year in and year out. So let's get to the Patriots and look, they handled business against the Panthers 42-13. The Panthers are stink out loud bad. And being in the stadium, Jay, early on, there was a lot of optimism and people were whooped up. But on that first drive, when they got that third down stop and they had either the defensive hold or the PI, it really kind of took the air out of the sails of the defense in that moment. Carolina, of course, goes down and scores. And then after that, they gathered themselves. So I really thought that penalty was going to lead to just kind of a meh day from the defense. But they ultimately turned it around. And I think this game, Jay, also reminded us, the power of having the lead. For so many years, we watched so much Patriots football where they had the lead, and it forces an offense to coach differently. When you're up 21-6, 28-6, 34-6, you're now getting to the point of playing with the lead again to where you truly are dictating things on both sides of the ball. And I got to say, third week in a row where I thought Drake May got better running the offense. He's still making some mistakes out there, but you can see the build. He's getting better. McDaniels has figured out the short to intermediate stuff with the kid, getting him on the move in the pocket. A lot of really nice things going on, I think, with them offensively right now.
Yeah, great stuff there. And the stuff about them playing with a lead was really interesting to listen to. So you had thought the Patriots were going to be 3-1, and gosh, Gresh, they easily could be, if not 4-0.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this footage for the first time. But what I'll say to you is this Buffalo game that's looming Sunday night, New England at Buffalo. And I wasn't trying to jump there right away, but I thought the Patriots were going to be live in that game even before this week, right? Because despite them having some clunkiness in losing 2 of their first 4 games, there's always been so much more good than bad. And gosh, Gresh, like they are a sneaky juggernaut at times, right? And Milton Williams is worth the money. That dude makes such a difference, right? And I love Christian Barmore, and the compliment, though, to have Milton Williams, he's around the football all the time in the backfield, causing havoc. I think they're going to give Buffalo all they can handle potentially Sunday night. But it's so exciting, man. They really are becoming what we thought they could be.
Yeah, and they need time to kind of round into shape and break some bad habits, and coaches learn the players and vice versa, things of that nature. Now, it's a big number, as we would expect. The Patriots are pretty heavy underdogs going into Buffalo, again, as one would expect. But, Jay, that's the thing. They need to take the lumps as much as they need to have the success, because when you have the success, it confirms you've grown from taking your lumps. And that, like week 1 to now week 4, there have been steps forward for New England every week in a couple of different ways. I think they can go for about a half or maybe a half and then half of the third quarter. And then I just expect Buffalo to start. You know, they have more will. They have more talent. They've been together longer. I don't think the Patriots get blown out. Maybe it's like a 10-point loss when it's all said and done, but we will feel like they were competitive and not like Gerard Mayo end of the year, lucky to get a win competitive because Buffalo sat everybody down. If people were paying attention here in New England, Buffalo last week did some sneaky injury maintenance going into this game. I don't know if you saw. Matt Milano and Ed Oliver, arguably 2 of their best defensive players in Buffalo, didn't play last week against New Orleans because they knew they had enough to be able to beat that sack of crap team who's trying to, get the number 1 pick. So now you have 2 of your best defensive players who've had 2 weeks to be able to get ready to just play in this game and be who they are. And I know that the Patriots had Ben Brown in their guard this week. Ed Oliver is going to be matched up against either Onwenu or it'll be the young kid Gibson or Brown. That's a mismatch that goes Buffalo's way. But it is interesting that Buffalo did a little bit of maintenance before they took on the Patriots at home on Sunday night.
You're changing my opinion a little bit. You're sort of making me think before I speak a little bit on some of these things about the Patriots, because I do believe I think the Patriots defense, to your point, maybe can hold up for a while against Josh Allen. I do think the Patriots can match their will with Mike Vrabel at the helm, but I do believe potentially that Buffalo defense can have some opportunities against Drake May, to your point, with those guys back. But I will say, right, and I host another Survivor podcast called Last Men Standing, and I will tell you, I hope people are on Buffalo, because I absolutely think New England can keep up with them on offense. I really think they can. I think the Patriots defense is good enough to potentially, I think they're going to have to play their best game. They're going to have to play a clean game, but they played a pretty clean game against Carolina. But your point about them playing with a lead is different, right? Buffalo, they may hang around, but can they sustain a 60-minute tight game against
that's the hard part against Buffalo, because it feels like the water is pressing against the dam, and then is it going to break and just let all the water rush, or is it going to leak a little bit? And they're going to, and Buffalo's really going to have to work hard. Really slowing down James Cook is a key, as Cody just threw up in the old chat. Second in running back via yards at 401. Patriots defense third best against the rush. Some of that might be, look who they played, look at the score of the game. Just like 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh, it was really about the turnovers. Last week the Patriots got a boost by getting something out of their special teams. And it's great it happened against Carolina, but it's bad it didn't happen against Buffalo, if you know what I mean.
Good stuff there. So after Buffalo, the Patriots, 3 straight road games here. So they go at New Orleans and at Tennessee. And while we'd like to say, oh, all right, well, even if you lose to Buffalo 2-3, you'll get back to 4-3. It's not like in the and I know you nod, right? Yeah, I'm sure they're favorites on paper now, but in the National Football League, right? You saw New Orleans give Buffalo a little bit of trouble, but your points about the defensemen are well taken, right? So it's not like a foregone conclusion, right? Could be a coaching change in Tennessee, some juice there, right? So I guess it's not a foregone conclusion that the Patriots are going to go take care of those 2 bottom feeding teams necessarily, but you go win at Buffalo, I got a lot of confidence that they go 3-0 on this road.
Yeah, now there you go. And I think that the solace, the blanket we can wrap ourselves in, to your point, Jay, is that there's 2 sad sacks coming up after this, so don't kind of hang your head. But if you find a way to upset Buffalo and then you get the next 2, now you can start to allow yourself to think, hey, could we maybe somehow be a factor in this division? I think it would be too big a jump too early, but get the win against Buffalo and shake them up a little bit. Because look, Jay, the purview from Buffalo has completely changed now. New England is a part of a run of teams that the Buffalo's playing where they're like, yeah, we're going to hammer these people. They get the bye last week of October, and then early November, the Chiefs go rolling into Buffalo. Now, the Chiefs already have 2 losses. So if you're Buffalo, you're thinking we're up already. We're up 2. And if we get this one, then we have the head-to-head. It's almost insurmountable. So if you're Buffalo, really, Jay, the next couple of weeks leading into that Kansas City game are really, in their minds, I think, connected to locking up the number 1 seed by the middle of the year, or at least trying to, and having all the tiebreakers against all these other good teams. So it will be interesting to see how Buffalo kind of attacks this against New England. Do they look? I don't think they look at them the way they did New Orleans last week, but I don't think they shudder in fear in thinking, oh my God, this is this in their minds, in the players' minds, this isn't a losable game. It's just New England. We respect them maybe because of Mike Vrabel, but that's about it. And your point on Tennessee is interesting, bro. I have a little bit on Mike McDaniel being the first coach fired. I might be wrong. It might be this Callahan goof down in Tennessee.
So you threw me off. It's just you saying the word goof has completely thrown me off. Gresh, I think the Patriots have a great chance to win this game at Buffalo, and it's unlike me to say that, right? I'm usually a guy, I don't know, right? I don't want to speak to how good I think the Red Sox could be potentially in New York tonight. But but I really think the Patriots are live. I think 8.5 is way too many points. I think they can do a lot of things offensively. I think they're very unique, and I think they've made this big jump very quickly, regardless of what the record. I know Parcells says you are what the record says you are. Patriots are a very good 2-2 team, Before we move on to basketball, you had mentioned when we were talking about the Ravens, the Bengals. Do you remember what you were going to say about the Bengals? Is there anything you want? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, what I was going to say, Jay, about the Bengals is if they don't, they only have 10 million in cap space, but they can probably funny money something. I mean, I go to Hendrickson and say, hey, let's see if we can work out tacking on another year and cooking it up that way. They need to go get a quarterback. Like, they're literally going to waste this year. You got Jamar Chase already going over the head coach and being like, hey, listen, I know we got shitbum McGee in here, but let's tell him to throw me the ball on the goal line. They got real problems, and wouldn't it feel crazy if you're Cincinnati? You go through what you did with Hendrickson. You kept T. Higgins. You're allegedly loaded up offensively from that end, a quarterback and wide receiver, and then you don't repurpose the position, and you're just going to allow yourself to be a 6-win team this year and go back into the draft and just be happy with it. It feels like it feels like you're wasting years on those wide receivers.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I assume you hear, I assume Russell Wilson, you wouldn't like them to go grab him, or
no, they could probably do better than that. However, Jay, here's the hook. If you're Cincinnati and you can give up, say, a second-round pick, and the Giants are going to handle the money end of Russell Wilson to make him whole so that he literally goes to Cincinnati as a minimum salary player, that might be where it fits ultimately. Will Cincinnati say, no, F it, let's restructure some contracts, you go get Kirk Cousins? Or will they take, that's a good pull on you, or will they take someone like Russell Wilson because the Giants might be willing to eat the money for us, and then you just give them a higher draft pick in return?
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson's not making much money now. He and Jameis Winston, I think, are making less money than Daniel Jones collectively. Jones at $14 million, but I'd go get Jameis Winston rather. At least bring some energy into that locker room, right? I think Jameis Winston and more like Russell Wilson. If I had the choice between those two for Cincinnati, because the money's similar, I'd go get Jameis Winston, if anything.
Yeah, no, respectfully, I'd bring a veteran in there, because the one thing
Winston,
know,
veteran?
No,
Winston's
but the one thing I know I can't coach out of Winston is the one thing that Cincinnati can't have, which are those turnovers.
Right.
I'd rather have I'd rather have the A-Rod of football, a phony of a person like Russell Wilson, because at least I know he'll kind of take care of the ball. But could you imagine that? Russell Wilson going to Cincinnati to try to save their season until Joe Burrow shows up? That'd be amazing.
Wilson can't take care of the football anymore anyway, and he can't make any throws other than deep ball. Anyway, we got to talk about basketball. Let's go.
Well, at the game on Saturday, meaning the Patriots game, I don't know if you saw, but JB, the quarterback, was in the house. You look down during pregames, you see this guy. Oh, you see this large African-American gentleman all dressed in black, and he's thin and he's not wearing any pads, and you're kind of staring down there, and you're looking and being like, wait a minute, who the hell is that down there? Were they working somebody out? And it was JB. Just down there kind of hanging out. And we saw video this week of Jayson Tatum at least running on a court. It wasn't full speed, but the guy was out there moving around. This is fascinating to me, Jay, because the Celtics season total this year is 41.5. And even though Al Horford just went to Golden State, I know we're waiting to see when that guy, Jayson Tatum, returns this year. 41.5 still feels light to me for a Celtics team that, even if they're middle of the Eastern Conference, I think they're winning 45 games.
I couldn't agree with you more. I know that we're not doctors, but I just want to ask you a question, right? So Tatum tore his Achilles on May 12th, 2025. The 2025-2026 regular season concludes on April 12th, 2026, exactly 11 months after that. We've talked about Kobe coming back after an Achilles tear at age 35, juxtaposed to Tatum at 28. I think Kobe was back in 8 months. I have all sorts of Celtics fans who I'll see. Some of them say, shut him down for the whole year. Some of them would want to bring him back sooner. Obviously, we don't know right now. There's too much unknown. I'm not sure I want the team's performance necessarily to dictate what they do with him. But given some of these videos and given medical science in 2025 and given his age and relative durability over his career, it's hard for me not to imagine that if the Celtics are playing in meaningful postseason games, that they could shut him down, even if they do shut him down for most of the regular season. Any thoughts on any of that?
I think Tatum is coming back in March. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you a little birdie kind of put that in my ear, but a little birdie put that in my ear and said, hey, he's going to be back in March. Because if you do the math and you start to think about the timeline, you're pushing 9-10 months right there. So, and what will be interesting to me, Jay, will be if the Celtics know they're getting Tatum back, almost like a trade addition, let's say. Do they then go into the trade market and say, well, here's what we got. We know we're getting Tatum back. We know we need a big. Instead of making the move preseason, let's make a move at the trade deadline. And we know we're adding JT. Let's go add another big, put them all together for, 6 weeks and let Joe Mazzulla cook with that group and then get you to the postseason. I'm in my mind, Jay, I'm literally thinking that say he doesn't come back in March, early April, Tatum's going to be ready. And that's the final couple weeks of the regular season. So the Celtics could really be a tough team to figure out in the postseason because of Tatum and how much does that kind of shake up the core. But I got a little intel that I think the way the Celtics are going to approach this is the trade deadline is really going to matter. And if they feel like they can get the right piece in adding Tatum as well, then that's how they'll saddle up and ride and try to go through this Eastern Conference.
Well, it makes a ton of sense. And let's say Jaylen Brown goes down or Derek White goes down and the season, and they aren't going to win 41
there
games,
you go.
right? Then
Good
you have
point.
the option not to make that move,
right?
At the deadline. But I preface this by saying we're not doctors because we obviously don't know Jayson Tatum's timetable, right? And when you see even in football, Christian Gonzalez, Mike Vrabel seemingly individually made the decision to just keep him out one extra week with that hammy. In a vacuum, I absolutely love that. But with Tatum, it's a bigger picture here. It's like by April, my guess would be if they're letting him roll out there in April, the doctors are not convinced that 4 weeks from then he is going to be in a far different place of healing or in jeopardy of re-injuring, etc.
I think Tatum is trying to do the Kobe, like you said. Yeah, I think that's how he's kind of attacking it.
He probably wants Christmas,
Yeah. That's what's really funny. That's what I was gonna say. The whole New Year's Eve first of the year. I wonder if that's maybe because if Tatum is shooting for January 1st, Jay, then to me, by March 1st, he should be ready in theory to get out there.
It's hilarious. I was going to say, right, whatever date he has in his mind, certainly it'll be extended beyond then, but it's not some outrageous thing, the idea that Tatum's going to be available. And hey, let's say the Celtics are the 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. Whoever's in that too is the Milwaukee Bucks. You got Boston coming to town. And you know what? There are all sorts of different ways to win championships. In 2010, the Celtics didn't win the championship. I believe they were the 4 seed, were injured a lot during the season, but they should have won Game 7. Don't even get me started. But anyway, nice to talk a little hoop.
It was the Sheed Wallace game you're referencing there, that Game 7. You're starting Big Sheed in Game 7. You realize that he was so good. He gave, that was one of those where you hear guys all the time say they left it out there. I really believe it was Sheed. Like he retired after that, was like, I can't give no more. I got nothing left to give out of this body. But he dropped his nuts in that Game 7 and tried like crazy. But this will be this is going to be a different kind of Celtics season, just because of, you hit it. The variables are really going to matter. You and I can kind of look on the calendar and circle the date of the trade deadline and then start following along, because I think you hit a real mitigating circumstance. Let's say someone big like a White gets dinged up along the way and you're not going to have your full complement of people, then how willing and eager are you going to be to get Jayson Tatum back? And how much time does Tatum really want in coming back? Let's say that circumstance that you laid out is still there, Jay. Does he say, no, F it, I need to get out there in March. I want 6 weeks of playing again that I can carry it over into next year. But I think in terms of aggressiveness, trade deadline, who's doing what, how is Tatum coming along? We have to knock on wood. He doesn't have a setback or anything like that. We're assuming a lot in some of the scenarios that we're laying out there. But, bro, 41.5.
I'm with you.
And low.
I agree. And, real quick, Halliburton had the same injury. It happened later in the postseason.
Correct.
Right? And all guys have different timetables for healing, right? Brandon Ayuk in the NFL's, his knee injury been a little more challenging, right? Not even close to being ready, even though maybe the timetable on paper would look different. So that's what's kind of interesting for me, the juxtaposition with Halliburton, where it does feel like for the Pacers, right? And Miles Turner now is playing alongside Giannis in Milwaukee, right? It feels as though with the Pacers, that injury, I know they didn't have a banner like the Celtics, but that injury really is a punt on this season. I don't think it's a punt on this season for the Celtics in any way, shape, or form.
That's where having another superstar really helps, right? Because when you lose Halliburton and you're Indiana, you're a 30-win team. You have no one else to turn to. At least here we have JB, and even if he is a B-plus level superstar, that's still, it's better than what most teams have. I look at what Orlando's trying to build, and they got together a nice little roster down there. They do. But when I look at the experience of the Celtics, I am not worried about them, especially because I know there's JB and D White in the backcourt. And let's see what happens with Anthony Simons. I think, before camp's over, they're going to end up flipping that guy and trying to tweak this team. But you know who I'm most excited for, Jay, in a weird way? Joe Mazzulla. Because this allows crazy Joe Mazzulla to get in the lab
100%.
And do things a little differently than he's done in the past.
And if you recall, for those of you that have tuned in on Gas before, I spent some time with Joe Mazzulla at UFC 318, 19, whatever it was in Chicago. And I said to him at one point, I was like, my guess would be you cannot wait to have all these different roster variables. And he just looked at his assistant coach, DJ, with a big, big smile on his face. Because, you're 100% right. He can't wait.
They're in the lab.
Nobody better to be able to do that. And even a guy like Hugo Gonzalez, who may be a little young in the draft pick, he jumped off the television for me. So I think a lot of potential opportunities. And I think some guys that can get some of those Tatum minutes to develop their games as well in real time.
And quickly, if Gonzalez develops the way people think, there's a lot of, comparisons to like Luka and stuff like that. Well, let's say Gonzalez ends up jumping in there, Jay, and playing well. It could be him and D White in the backcourt with Jalen as the 3 versus having Jalen maybe play the 2. So that whole roster flexibility thing for Crazy Joe Mazzulla could end up, all the pieces could end up fitting for the Celtics when it's ultimately all said and done. I know we had some UFC from Perth, Australia over the weekend where Carlos Ulberg showed out in a very big way against a well-respected Dominic Reyes. But we have UFC 320 coming up this weekend. It feels like, Jay, the news with the UFC, like Dana White did 60 Minutes. He doesn't do a lot of those profiles recently. There's a lot of, now that's also working with a now UFC partner. I think we need to remember that. Like, I don't want to pull the curtain. I don't want to pull the curtain open on the whole media deal, but like you signed with Paramount and all of a sudden Dana White's on 60 Minutes. It's like, what the hell's going on here? All right. So you're taking care of those, network or league partners, as they would say, when it comes to the NFL. But you have Dana White doing a sit down. You have Conor McGregor, who's kind of woofing about, is he negotiating like directly with Trump? Like, did Conor McGregor do the one thing that fighters would love to do but can't? Have they cut Dana out? Is McGregor so big he's cut Dana out of these negotiations?
No shot. That's the case. Not even close. It really is interesting with these UFC fights because I sometimes will joke with my brother John about trying to find time to watch a UFC fight night. right? Amidst all these other sports going on. But for anyone who didn't see Carlos Ulberg, I'm glad you brought it up. Like just absolute.
That was badass.
Dude, it's
I had it
unbelievable.
on. It was unbelievable. Is right.
So-
we use that word a lot.
So we're not going to spend too much time on UFC 320, but I do want to ask you a question because you're a sneaky good UFC fan, and from the standpoint that when I ask you about at least the ranked fighters, right? We're not talking back half of the roster. You really have a good feel for this stuff, right? So I want to talk to you about Merab Dvalishvili against Corey Sandhagen, right? Corey Sandhagen like a 3-1 underdog. So like I love Corey Sandhagen as a human being. I really think he's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Back in the day when and I say back in the day, but a few years ago, he was just as much of a contender in a way as he is now. And a few years ago, I thought Merab was a guy that would have made a ton of sense for Corey to fight. And I liked the matchup a ton. I don't suggest I like the matchup as much in 2025, but I'm curious from your standpoint. I know your boys will be betting. Main event, I know everyone has a puncher's chance, but do you really give Sandhagen a chance against a Merab Dvalishvili who looks to be getting better and better every time he makes the walk?
You set it up perfectly, and you're right. It feels like Sandhagen has kind of been at this level for a while, but I feel like he's been at that level for a while, and this is a fight where he needs a little more. And for me personally, I don't know if it's in him against Merab is, for my money, and people may disagree with this, and you may disagree with this, Jay, as dominant as Khabib was and the way you felt when Khabib went into the octagon, that's how I now feel about Merab. I've learned from even you and I doing this show, talking to you and Jay, talking to people, Merab's just different. And I keep coming back to that, right? I don't want to make it sound like Corey Sandhagen doesn't have a chance, because in mixed martial arts, it's kind of like the NFL. Everybody's got a chance. All you got to do is have one slip up and a guy puts you in a rear naked choke and it's over with, right? But, when they have the things on Twitter, like Merab running in the street after, winning a fight, there just aren't many people like him. And I think that's where I kind of land on Merab, is that it's going to take somebody to shock the hell out of us to beat him. And I'm not saying Corey Sandhagen can't do it, but my feel going in, it's almost Khabib-like now, where it's like, okay, it's not, is he going to win? It's how is he going to win? Because Merab is such an animal that I don't know whether he's going to choke him out or knock him out.
Great stuff there. And, as I think about Merab Dvalishvili at 135, in 2025 versus his come up has been absolutely perfect. He's just so much more dangerous as a champion right now to me in 2025. And the type of guy to beat Merab, I'm not sure he exists at 135 pounds.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like some of these 145ers that maybe have a little bit of pop, and Merab, it's like, I don't see Merab hopping up to 145 anytime soon. There's just no need, right? He's not having any trouble making the weight in his unconventional ways.
Or the money. That's the other thing too. When you're the champ, beat the schniz out of everybody and take those big checks.
And I think I heard my brother call him the biggest star in the UFC right now. Ray Longo talked about Merab. They'll land in some random place on the planet, and he's boots on the ground, getting out there for a run. He's married to the work. He's truly married to it. And I mean, even, and Cody, you may laugh at this, but I look at a picture there, and doesn't Merab look more man than boy? He's getting better and better and better, which is just so dangerous. To me, a guy like Corey Sandhagen, I love Merab as a human too. This is going to be one of those for my brother. I have a feeling the rooting is going to be like, gosh, man, one of these guys has to lose. But Corey Sandhagen would be one of those guys who, man, I'd be so happy if this guy became a champion, because I just love this human being so much. And Merab has obviously had the flowers. Well,
and Merab there on the quote that Cody just highlighted as he was scrolling through, I'm looking to knock Corey Sandhagen out. That is... like that. And you know what's that's where he's different from Khabib, because with Khabib, it was just, he'll find a way to beat you. He'll probably stretch the hell out of you. But with Merab, there very much is the two-way go. And I just think the motor right now, that to me is what sets Merab apart from everybody else, It's like
I
the
agree.
motor. It's like it doesn't even have like a glitch in the system, Jay. It's constantly running at max efficiency as soon as he steps in the octagon.
And is Sandhagen so gifted and so dangerous a striker that Merab has to be so careful and not try to implement his game? I'm not sure. I think so, as much as I love Corey.
I'm with you. What do you make of the light heavyweight rematch where you were all over last time Ankalaev winning the title, and now Alex Pereira, where I hear Alex Pereira now talking about, hey, I jammed a lot of fights in there. Now I'm going to pace myself a little differently. I do wonder if the rest really helps Alex in this matchup.
As I look at the betting line and I see a plus 215 number next to Poetan's name, there's something about that just doesn't sit well. And Kenny Florian brought up on the Anik and Florian podcast this week and has far better recall than me how close that first fight was. So from a gambling standpoint, when I look at this, it's hard for me not to look at Poetan. I kind of believe him, and I believe that he can make the adjustments, but Ankalaev is a big problem. Joe Rogan is talking about Ankalaev many years ago. And as we talk about Merab, how are you going to get Ankalaev out of there? Right? Just so many different ways in which he can win fights, and he's very difficult. Not unlike welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena. These guys are sneaky difficult. Even had Bilal Muhammad tried to implement his game plan or a different game plan against Jack Della Maddalena and try to keep him on the ground, how successful would he have been able to be at that? So I think it's going to be a very close fight, just like the first one. It's going to be hard for me not to root for Poetan for the sport.
Yeah, what Poetan did for about 2 years for the UFC, I'm sure he was paid handsomely for, because there were some events that he bailed the company out, and they'll always be loyal to guys like that. For me, with Poetan, it feels like, Jay, he's got to rock Ankalaev with a kick. Like, whether it's a liver kick, whether it's a head kick, you're going to chip away and try to get at the legs. I don't think it's really going to work in Ankalaev. But does Poetan have one of those big kind of, if not knockout kicks, knock you on your ass kind of kicks that forces Ankalaev to kind of pause for a second? To me, that's the one thing that I don't know if Ankalaev could withstand, because Pereira is such a great kickboxer as well, that if he kind of rocks him with, one up the middle or one to the side of the head, then does that become a little bit of an equalizer for Poetan in trying to take this guy down? Because you're right, Ankalaev, it's only been this in his career. Not like this. It's been up a steep hill that this guy's gotten that good to become the light heavyweight champion.
Good stuff there. I'm really going to be thinking about that when I'm sitting there octagon side, because I really do believe, right? It's like we've seen Poetan chip away at the lower legs, but to your point, elevating kick and aggressive, unorthodox even a little bit to sort of throw him off his game. I think that's really interesting. And it's not going to shock me hearing you say it to perhaps see him try to do that, because I think that game plan makes a ton of sense.
It does. And you rock him with a kick, and then there is the, geez, how do I defend that part of it for Ankalaev as well? But UFC 320 top to bottom, it's going to be a great card. Now, I'm in a little conundrum this weekend, because I know we're wrapping it up and getting out of here. Normally, I have been so busy during football season in the past that I've been able to avoid most social interaction and functions and things of that nature, right? But now that I'm kind of a normal person, I got to go to Pitt Family Weekend this weekend. So on Friday night, I'm taping TV, and then I'm picking up
from
the
home?
old. Yeah, no, I 5 stoplights down the street. Yep.
Okay.
So I go to WPRI. I'll tape TV we tape on Friday afternoons for Sunday morning, which is so efficient. But so when I'm done with that, I'll come home, we'll grab bags, we'll go get the olds, we'll get the dogs all situated, and then we're headed to Boston for a direct flight to Pittsburgh. And then Saturday we'll be in the house for the Pitt BC game.
Nice.
We have friends on both sides of that one. So we'll go there, we'll have a little dinner, and then on Sunday we'll be in Pittsburgh. The Steelers, I do believe, are on the road, so there's no NFL experience going on. If anything, it'll be killing time. But on Saturday night, I'm going to be at the Renaissance on Forbes Ave down the street from my kid who wants to go watch UFC, but this is the first pay-per-view since he's been in school. So like the local, you're in a college town, you figure there's the local yokels who are going to, so I told him, do the research this week, find us a place where we could just go at 10 o'clock and go eat and go watch this thing. It's either that or we're just going to order food and watch it in his room or something. But our Saturday, Jay, it doesn't revolve around the football game or dinner or anything like that. For me and my youngest, it revolves around how are we going to get situated to watch UFC 320 that night?
Dude, I know it and I love it. Are you flying home on Sunday?
No, we're flying home Monday morning.
So Sunday,
what are you
doing Sunday?
I will, Sunday, I'll probably be halted because the Patriots Bills are Sunday night.
Right.
So my TV gets pushed to Monday, so I don't have to be home on Sunday. So, of course, everyone was like, well, let's stay down there and see the kid if you don't have anything. See, I always used to have hey, I have something, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I either got out of it or we changed the plan. Now it's the no. If you have nothing, then you make the plans to get us home on a Monday and blah, 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 and all that stuff.
So I just want to tell you this, and then you can get us out of here. So I live in Florida. My brother John now lives in Greenwich, Connecticut. We're identical twins, very close, don't live in the same area anymore. He just did the Canelo Crawford boxing, which was a pretty intensive week for a lot of different reasons. But so now we both will fly out there today for a UFC pay-per-view. He's done a few of these in the past. I'm not saying he's not going to be very prepared and working hard, but we're going to be in Vegas for Red Sox-Yankees wild card for 3 games. Pay-per-view finishes Saturday night. We are both going to be in Vegas. He has an obligation Sunday for a couple hours, but we're going to be in Vegas. I'm staying all day Sunday to watch the NFL, bet on Sunday. And the Bills Patriots comes on at 5:20, plenty of time before the red eye. So should be a good weekend. Let's go fucking Red Sox, huh?
All right, there we go. You've been called out, Red Sox, by Jayson Anik. So go get it. Go get it against the Yankees. I know this. We will be here next week to talk about it right here on Gas. Tell your friends. Make sure you're subscribing at The Real Gresh on YouTube. You can watch us on Instagram. You can watch us on Twitter. Tell a friend that this is the best sports radio in Boston. It's just online and not filled with a ton of commercials or dickhead bosses. So that's it. We're out of here. Cody Merrow, great job at Cody_Merrow. Give him a follow on Twitter. Give Jay a follow and be looking for him. It's like a Where's Waldo for UFC 320. You all need to be on the lookout for where does Jayson Anik get sat, because I find him literally every pay-per-view. It's my Where's Waldo moment. I absolutely love it. All right, folks, we're out of here. We'll see you next week.